This is going to be a roaming commentary, and in this video, I'm going to be playing warrior. So a lot of times people will say, oh, you're just playing a thief, so of course you're going to be able to do that. You can just choose your fights. Well, now I'm playing Spellbreaker, so I don't want to hear any coping. Alright, there are some skills that tie over from all classes, and we're going to be going over that in this video. So in this situation, we're going to be in like a 2v4. We're going to kill the sentry, but we can't cap it because we're outnumbered. So I'm going to back off, but my willbender goes in, and if I just leave, well then they're going to die. So I'm going to head back in immediately as soon as I see that they're targeting the herald here, and I get a bull's charge, but I'm getting blinded, and yeah, there's protection and stuff, so I can't really get the kill yet. They've got stability, so I can't finish the kill there. So now I'm pretty much unable to do anything to them because they've got stability and I'm in hammer, so I can't set up a combo. So I'm going to back off. And what this will do is allow me to create a better situation, because you can see there's a willbender on me and I'm just kiting around. But because I'm kiting around this like cliffside here, essentially the backline is going to kind of get funneled together so I can AoE them at the same time. So now I use my Rampage 5 skill and I can use my Earthshaker as well. So I created distance from the willbender, and I'm also CCing their backline there, which is going to allow me to get the herald down here. We're going to be able to hit them with the Greatsword 3 and they go down. So at this point, I'm no longer going for the down body there, because essentially if I stay there and try to cleave them, then the willbender is going to be there just hitting me, and so is the catalyst, and they're just going to be able to get the res because I won't be able to take the pressure. I mean, I've got some cooldowns, maybe I could, but my full counter's not off cooldown yet. So I actually separate them, because if they all go for the res immediately, I'll just get out of combat and they won't get the kill. And they're in a 3v1, so if I escape from a 3v1, I win. But they don't want that to happen, so they're going to keep chasing. But they have to res, so this is essentially splitting them, and this allows me to jump on the willbender, and since they don't have any cooldowns, I'm able to finish them off with a nice combo and use my stability to stomp them. Now, every time you get a kill, you always want to back off and kite, reassess the situation, because, I mean, they've got all their cooldowns, and I don't have my cooldown. So it's just always better to back off and see where you can go from there. So yeah, I'm just line of sighting here with this tree. I land a nice Earthshaker, but they're going to use their port out, and tons of people are going to be now coming towards us. So I have to leave. I use my Greatsword 4 behind me so that I can cripple them so they're not as fast. And I'm just going to leave. There's like 4 or 5 chasing me. So we're going to use all of our stuff to get mobility to run towards my territory. If we fight in their territory, then they're just going to keep getting more and more reinforcements. And you could see from that one situation, I killed one and then 2 more spawned. So I want to go towards my territory. We're in an outnumbered situation. So it's on them to get the kill, because if I just leave, then, my teammates are doing something else, elsewhere. But if they just let me escape like that, I mean, they're 5v1ing me and they're just going to let me leave. I mean, that's not really how that works. They need to chase for the kill. But now that they're in my territory, I'm getting reinforcements, and now we can counter pressure them for the kill. So they're going to leave, actually, because they don't want to be 4v2ing me in my terrain, in my territory. So we're going to just try to cut their backline off, essentially. But yeah, they're playing extremely safely, because the thing about WvW Worlders is they don't want to fight, they want to win. So if there's ever a situation where they can potentially lose, they're not going to fight you. So if we're like 2v3ing and like it's kind of close, they're not going to fight still, because even though they have the advantage, there's a chance that they can die. That's not how they play. They will always take a fight where they know that they can win. And that's just a smart thing to do. So, I mean, I can't really blame them. But using that information, you can actually manipulate your enemies. So when I go in really close on them like this, they keep backing up. Now my Willbender is still fighting their other, I think they had another Willbender behind me. So I'm zoning these two because they won't play aggressively. Now they're all three on me now. So I land a nice Earthshaker, but my Willbender behind me is coming in. So I'm holding them and we're trying to just get a kill. And now my allies are here. So we can re-target to whoever's the nearest target and just do the same thing that they did to me to them. So now we get the kill, and if they don't know how to kite like I did, then you're going to get the kill. So understanding how to kite is going to be way more valuable to you than knowing how to get a kill, because if you're going to go into enemy territory and be 1v3, it doesn't matter if you know how to get a kill because you're going to be outnumbered. But creating a situation where you can get a kill is a lot easier. So yeah, knowing how to kite is actually sometimes a lot better for getting a kill than, you know, than knowing how to do a lot of damage. So that's kind of like manipulating your enemies to be in a bad situation. Now, we're in SMC, which we own, so we can chase this kill pretty easily. But it looks like there's a bunch of their teammates inside. We do land a nice breaker there, but they're able to get out. And so right now, we're looking for the next target. Their catalyst is pretty high HP, so not the best target. So I'm just gonna back off, not go in. I've got all my cooldowns, but I really don't want to waste them. I see that their ranger now has quite a bit of damage, so now this is the target for me. I'm by myself, but I call the target anyway, so it's just easier to find them. But I am gonna essentially focus the ranger here. They use their Doliac stance, so I use my rampage because I expect that they're not going to have any more stability, but they get stability from their allies. So I'm just going to keep going in because I think that they're going to be out of stability anytime now. And yeah, there's like 3 or 4 of them here, but this ranger is so low, I really want to pressure the kill out. I use my full counter. And in this situation, so earlier I chose to not cleave in this situation and kite off. In this situation, I'm going to do kind of the same. I'm going to back off because I don't really have my cooldowns, and there's a lot of pressure that is just being put on me. So I'm actually line of sighting right here, so they can't, you know, just free cast on me. And they go back to go for the res, and now that they're going for the res and not counter pressuring me, I can now pressure them. So I'm going to go in with my Earthshaker, land some damage, and we're just getting more enemies on us. So this is not a very safe situation, and the ranger can self-res anyways. But we've stalled for long enough for our teammates to arrive, and now we can finish off the ranger there. So that's kind of like understanding when it's safe to go in, and then doing your damage, and then leaving and like line of sighting to create a better situation for yourself. Here's a 1v1 with a Chronomancer. They can be dangerous because they have a lot of burst potential, but if I just use my cooldowns when they use their cooldowns, I should be fine, and I'll be able to out-sustain them. I use my Rampage as well, which is super safe because you can't really be killed by power damage during it. But there's another Mesmer that arrives, and I use my full counter here, which they do not trigger, so I don't get any value off of that. But anyways, I want to kite because if I don't have my full counter off cooldown, I'm in an extremely dangerous situation because I am the most powerful when I have my full counter up and slightly after it. And if I'm outnumbered, then I need that advantage, or I'm just going to die because, you know, using full counter gives me stability, it gives me resistance, and it stuns the enemy. So it's huge. And if you're interacting with the enemy and you don't have full counter up, then they're going to win the trades. So here I use the full counter to CC a bunch of the clones and stuff that are around me. And then I go in for aggression because I've got all those boons from the full counter. I land my Bull's Charge into the Earthshaker and my Greatsword Burst. And then I back off because I don't have full counter anymore. So I wait another couple seconds and then I can go back in. But since I pressured the Chronomancer so much there, they don't want to go in. So, you know, that's good because now I'm going to be like, they want to play more aggressively, right? Because they're outnumbering me. And I used my full counter again into their Phantasm Burst, but I didn't really get much off of the full counter because I don't have anything to survive. So I back off, and they're going to play really aggressively now because they're going to pour it on top of me. And I've got no full counter for another second. So I try to kite and use my balance stance to not get locked down. And I'm getting immobilized, a lot of CC. And I go along the railing of the bridge here, and their Mesmer actually jumps off because they thought that I was going to jump off. And now we've separated them. So I can just kite along the edge of this bridge, and we can essentially get the 1v1 with the Chronomancer again, because the Mirage you can see is in the distance. They're nowhere near. So while the distance is created there, I can start to pressure the Chronomancer. So we get a decent amount of damage here. I land my Earthshaker, or the Backbreaker, and we get them to like 10% health. And I have to kite off because full counter's on cooldown, but I go back in because I really want to finish off the Chrono here. I've got my full counter soon. I use it to remove the blind, and I land a really nice Bull's Charge into the 100 Blades burst, and now they're down. So when one player is down, I know in the previous scene I showed I backed off when I got one down, but this is a 1v2. 1v3 is a little bit different because there's a lot more pressure, but in a 1v2 you get a lot more value because it's not as much pressure. So you want to be doing damage constantly because your burst skills give you sustain. And when there's a down body, you can reliably use your burst skills on it to get that sustain. So normally when Mesmers are in the upstate, they're really hard to hit, but when they're downed, very easy to hit. So now this is a really good situation for me now that one is down. The pressure that I'm taking has dropped drastically. So I'm playing a lot more aggressively, and I got into this situation because I split them up, and then I split them up again by getting one downed. So now I've got a huge advantage, and I can just keep pressuring this Mirage because I've got full counter, and that's pretty good versus Mesmers. So yeah, we're going to be able to get the kill on them with the Rampage here and move on to the next. Now here's a situation where I am looking for trouble because I'm green team right now, and I'm on the other side of the map, nowhere close to my territory, and I'm attacking a sentry. If you're ever attacking a sentry, you are on the enemy team's map as an orange dot, and they're going to come and kill you if they're looking for kills. So as soon as I start attacking the sentry, I've got like 3 or 4 people on me. And you can see there's people even coming out of the base here as well, trying to harass me. So yeah, if you want to look for these fights, sure, go and take some sentries. But I am looking for these fights, so this is a situation that I want. But I can't just kite back to my terrain because there's a huge gap between where I am right now and where there's actually safe territory. So I'll just die if I try to run back there because there's so much open plains there. You can't really run out in open territory, like open fields, because you're just going to get run down unless you are just faster than everyone else. But I am a warrior, so I can't just do that. I need to go over to the terrain, and this is a really good spot to do that, down in this tunnel, because this little kind of like threshold right here is very low visibility. So like right here, you can see I can't really see who's coming in until they're like right at the staircase. And that means I can throw my Earthshaker right at the entrance, and I can easily hit people with it and counter pressure them without them really seeing it coming. And I can just go back down, kite while I'm waiting for my cooldowns. So essentially, like half the time I'm in this situation, I want to be kiting and waiting for my full counter. And then during the times when my cooldowns, my burst skills are up, I'll go in and kind of like change direction to where the enemy is going through that threshold. So just keep going up and down based on what my cooldowns are and where the enemy is. Now I've got my full counter, I'll do my burst, and now that my cooldowns are, I've used them, I got a kite again, use my greatsword F1 to cleanse, and I've got my balance stance up so I can use my 100 blades here, and I'm really low on cooldowns. just used everything pretty much. So instead of going up and down the terrain, I'm just going to book it right here because I'm going to die if I get like hit, right? Like I'll just die instantly because I'm that outnumbered. So I'm just leaving. The thief is chasing pretty hard because they have the ability to do that, but I've got no cooldown, so I can't really turn around on them. So I use my Greatsword 4 behind me, and I'm able to use my burst skills, which cleanses me, which is important, but I still cannot fight them fully because I'm so pressured. But getting 4 adrenal health there is going to really help me to survive because it gives you a lot of healing over time. But I need to kite to actually survive that long. Now, here's another choke point that I've found myself at. You got to know when these thresholds kind of appear, because these are the moments where you want to counter pressure. So I use my burst skill as the thief runs through this doorway, and it doesn't hit, but they've used a dodge, and I can use my full counter now, and pretty much all of it just misses. So yeah, there's really not much I can do here. I just have to leave again, and I'm gonna hit them with my hammers 3 skill through the wall there, which is really nice, and I get my hammer 5. But yeah, there's just so much blind. They're just playing as aggressively as possible because they know they're outnumbering me. So I'm gonna use my Greatsword 4 behind me to cripple them, and I'm gonna use my Earthshaker, but they daze me, so they're just spamming all their CCs on me, so it's really hard for me to counter pressure. So I have to keep kiting and trying to separate them by going through these thresholds like this. And yeah, I don't really have my cooldowns, so I'm gonna kind of wait for them to come here. I use my heal skill, so I'm gonna go back in, but I miss my my burst skill there, so this is not good. I use my endure pain so that I can maybe trade a little bit so I can get my adrenal health, and I get all 4 adrenal health so I can start kiting again. It's really important that I'm constantly using my burst skills to get that adrenal health, so that is constantly going. If I just kite and never attack them back, I'll run out of health. So these little windows of time that I'm creating where I'm pressuring them is not just getting them off me for a little bit, it's also giving me some health. And I'm trying to use my heal skill, but I get interrupted. I use full counter and I get my adrenal health again. And they're coming through the threshold, so I'm able to get my hammer burst off and my full counter as well. But I've got to be careful. Now right here, I've created another threshold with that doorway. So I'm going to actually go back in, because if I keep running the way that I'm going right now, I'm just running through open field and I'll just get run down and die. So I go back in with the Earthshaker, and that allows me to pressure them and just use the terrain. The terrain is where I have power. The open field is where they have power. So we keep going, and the thief is probably the best target here because they're just the most overextended. I get them pretty low, and I use my backbreaker. I get their mesmer really low, and I notice that they're probably the best kill. I hit them with the burst there, and now that they're in the down state, I have power over the situation because now I can just use my burst skills on that down body, and the enemy is kind of like tied to that situation because they need to revive, or you know, they're going to eventually like die out. So I go in for the full counter, but unfortunately I was immobilized, which prevented me from going closer to the mesmer, which prevented me from triggering the full counter, which prevented me from CCing the enemy and getting the adrenal health. And unfortunately, I'm now going to be pressured because of that, and I'm going to die. So missing that full counter was unfortunate, but that's pretty much how you want to be playing the Spellbreaker in World versus World. You can't outrun your enemy, so you need to create those situations with terrain and be aggressive when possible. If you enjoyed this content, then leave a like on the video. Comment down below if you'd like to see more and which class you'd like me to play, and subscribe so that you can see when that content comes out. And I will see you all next time.